नमो विष्णाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. So we have been discussing from the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is titled as Jnana Vibhaga Yoga or Transcendental Knowledge, as Srila Prabhupada titles it. So uh, we started this whole chapter by discussing. I will do a. I'm not going to do an elaborate recap. I'm going to do a very short recap. So Krishna tells in the previous chapter, Krishna spoke about Nishkama Karma Yoga, about detached work, performance of detached work. So, in the beginning of this chapter, Krishna says that, "Oh Arjuna, I have spoken the same knowledge to Vivaswan, and Vivaswan spoke it to Vaivasvata Manu, Vaivasvata Manu spoke it to Ikshvaku. In this way, this knowledge was passed on in the dynasty of great kings, because uh, kings have kings have a command over their subjects, so they can easily disseminate that knowledge to their subjects. So, but over a period of time, as it happens with any other knowledge, this knowledge was lost. Now I am speaking this subject matter to you, Bhaktosime Sakacheti, because you are my devotee and you are my friend. Therefore, I am speaking this knowledge to you again so that you can disseminate it again. And Arjuna, with a desire to establish the transcendental nature of Krishna's birth and activities, he asked this question. Krishna, but I understand that Vivaswan lived much before us. How am I to understand that you spoke this knowledge to Vivaswan? So then Krishna speaks about the transcendental nature of his activities in verses like Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacharjana, and then mm, uh, and then he speaks about uh, uh, ajopi san navyayatma bhutanam ishwaropi san prakritim samadhishtaya sambhavami atma mayaya परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानमधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्. In these verses he speaks about the janma and karma rahasya, the very confidential nature of Krishna's birth and activities. And then he says, janma karma ch me divyam evam yo vetti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanmana iti mameti so Arjuna. One who understands this transcendental nature of me, birth and activities in truth, on giving up his body, he shall make birth again and he will attain me, Krishna says. Then, then how do we know that we have understood that Krishna's birth and activities to be transcendental? How do I know that I have understood in truth? Krishna says the symptoms are Vitaraga Bayakroda Manmayama Upashrita Bhavo Jnana Tapasa Puta Madbhava Magata. These are this is the proof that if one has really understood Krishna's birth and activities to be transcendental, then he will be free from Raga, Baya, Krodha, and he will be completely surrendered to Krishna, absorbed in hearing and chanting about Krishna. He would have taken complete shelter of Krishna through the process of Navada Bhakti. And uh, like that. So, and then Krishna says that, anyways, so later Krishna also mentions that how he creates this Varnashrama system. And then he says, Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spriha iti mamyo abhijanati karmabir nasabhadyate. So Arjuna, you should also understand that that actions do not contaminate me. I do not get any karmic reactions for my action because I am not desirous of the fruit of my action. Therefore, I don't get any reaction for my activities. Itimamyo abhijanati karmabirna sabadhyate. One who understands this nature of mind, he will not be bound. Meaning, one who understands that Krishna is transcendental to any. Krishna is not an ordinary person; he is a supreme personality of Godhead, and therefore, he does not get bound to his actions. He does not take birth again, because that is the meaning of Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam Evam Yo Vetti Tattva. This is one understanding. Another understanding is from Krishna, one who understands that detached work never give rise to reactions which will bind one to the material world. When one understands this from Krishna, and hence if he himself also performs detached work, then he will not be bound to this material world. Like that. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spriha itimam yo abhijanati karmabirna sabadhyate. Evam gyatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmat tvam purvair purvataram kritam. Arjuna, many of your very glorious predecessors performed their activities with this kind of understanding. They understood the importance of detached work. So they also performed very detached work. So you also should understand the importance of detached work, and following in their footsteps, you also perform detached work. You will also become detached. You will also become, you will also become ready for liberation. But kim karma kim akarmeti kavyopyatra vimohita tatte karma pravakshami yad gyatva mokshase ashubhat. So he says that, but one should very clearly understand about what is karma and what is akarma, what is vikarma. What is, because this is not very easy to understand. Kavayopyatra mohitaha. Even very intelligent people are bewildered by what constitutes karma, akarma, and vikarma. Karma means prescribed duties. Akarma means, how, akarma means the position of being a sannyasi. Okay, how one does not generate reactions due to by not performing any action. And vikarma means prohibited action. So one should understand this very clearly. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam cha vikarmanah. Akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. This is very difficult to understand because, because it is very subjective. What is karma for one can be vikarma for the other, and it can be akarma for the third person. So therefore, one has to, this subject matter is not very easy. Even very intelligent people, they are bewildered by this understanding of what is karma, akarma, and vikarma. Okay. So then he says, karmani akarma yaha pashyed akarmani cha karma yaha sa buddhimanusheshu sayuktah krishna karmakrit. He says that one who sees action in inaction and inaction in action, he is intelligent amongst men, and he, even though he may perform all actions, he will not get any reaction. So seeing inaction in action means how a properly qualified nishkama karma yogi, he is performing all actions, but because of being detached from the fruits of the actions, he does not get any reaction even though he is performing action. So he understands this principle of nishkama karma yoga, that how by performance of nishkama karma yoga without having any attachment to the fruits, even though actions are performed but no reaction is generated. This is one understanding. And akarmani cha karmayah. And one who also understands that how an unqualified sannyasi whose heart is not yet purified, but without having a pure heart, he has prematurely given up his actions. So even though he is not performing any actions, he will get papa karma. So, but to understand this, one should understand very clearly what is the principles of karma, akarma, and vikarma. So one who understands this, he will be able to see action in inaction and inaction, right? That is what he is talking about. So then he is talking about, then Krishna says, Yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagda karmanam tamahuhu panditam buddhaha. Okay. So then in the next few verses, he describes about how actions, when done with detachment, will not generate any reactions. So he says, Yasya sarve samarambaha kama sankalpa varjitaha. Jnanagni dagda karmanam tamahuhu panditam buddhaha. He says that one who engages in all kinds of activities, but he is completely free from the desire to enjoy. There is no desire to enjoy the fruits of his activities. So such a person, he has burned up all actions by the fire of knowledge. Jnanagni dagda karmanam tamahuhu panditam buddha. So this is a Nishkama Karma Yogi, a properly qualified Nishkama Karma Yogi. Tyaktva karma phala sangam nityatapto nirashrayah karmani abhipravrittopi naiva kinchit karota. So even though such a person is engaged in all kinds of actions, because he has given up the desire for the results of those actions, and he is always satisfied and not dependent on others, that person does not do anything at all, which means he does not get any reaction for his actions at all. Okay. So then he says, Nirashir yata chittatma tyakta sarva parigraha chariram kevalam karma kurvan napnoti kilbisham. So such a person, because he is not dependent on anyone else, he is without desire, and his mind and body are completely controlled, which means mind is not desiring to enjoy any material objects, and the body is also controlled in that way. The body is not going after enjoying any material objects also. Shariram kevalam karma kurvan napnoti kilbisham. So he performs actions only for supporting his body. So therefore, such a person does not incur any sin. Okay. So then he says, Yadricha labha santushto dvandvatito vimatsarah samasiddhau asiddhaucha kritvapi na nibadyate. So Yadricha labha santushto, he is completely satisfied with whatever comes of its own accord, being free of dualities, because he is free of dualities because he is not acting on the platform of likes and dislikes. He is acting on the platform of what is correct and what is wrong. So dvandvatito vimatsaraha, because he does not want to enjoy anything in this material, anything of this material world. There is no question of envy, seeing others who may be enjoying a lot of things of this material world. Kritvapi na nibadyate. Such a person even is engaged in all kinds of duties. He is not bound to this material world. Gata sangasya muktasya jnanavastita chetasah yajnaya charata karma samagram praviliyate. So such a person, because he is engaged in the actions of yajna, he does not accrue any karmic reactions, because he is doing his prescribed duties according to the Shastra and without any attachment to the results. He is offering the results to the Lord. So therefore, there is no karmic reactions. So to conclude this section, he says, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagnav Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. Therefore, because the person is being absorbed in goal of attaining Brahman, Brahma Karma Samadhina, because he is absorbed in performing the actions for attaining Brahman. Therefore, whatever may be the external form of sacrifice, but the person who is offering the sacrifice, the object which is being sacrificed, the fire into which the object is offered for sacrifice, the objects, the instruments which are used for offering the oblations into the fire of sacrifice, all of that become Brahman, because the person who is performing that sacrifice is performing that sacrifice with a desire to attain Brahman. Brahma Karma Samadhina, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir, Brahmagnau, Brahmanahutam, Brahma Ivatena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. Like that, he says. So then, in this next section, long section, we saw the various types of yajna which are performed by different kinds of people, which externally has a different form, but because that yajna is performed internally in the mood of detachment from material enjoyment and a desire to attain liberation, therefore all of that becomes spiritual, and it leads one to progress on the path of liberation. So the various different kinds of yajnas are described from verse number 25, then 26, then 27, then 28, 29, till 29. And then in the 30th verse it is said, Sarvepyete yajna vido yajna kshapita kalmashaha yajna shishtamrita bhujo yanti brahma sanatanam. So all of these knowers of sacrifice, they destroy their sin through sacrifice. So whatever papa karma is there, that is destroyed. Yajna shishtamrita bhujo, and enjoying the benefits of sacrifice, they attain the eternal yanti brahma sanatanam. Because of Brahma Karma Samadhina, they are performing it for the purpose of attaining the Brahman. So they attain the Brahman. Okay. So then, Nayam lokosti ayajnasya kutonyah kuru sattama. So he says that the person who does not perform sacrifice, na ayam loko asti, that person attains nothing in this life. Kuto anyah, what to speak of the next life, O best of the Kurus. Like that he says. So one who does not perform sacrifice, which means one who is not engaged in Nishkama Karma Yoga, he is living a life of sin. Then Krishna says, Evam bahuvida yajna vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan vidditan sarvan evam gyatva vimokshase. Thus, evam bahuvida yajna. In this way, there are many different types of yajna which externally look very different. Vitata brahmano mukhe, they have been described in the Vedas. Karmajan vidditan sarvan. Know that all these yajnas are based on prescribed actions of mind, body, and words. Okay. So, some yajnas include mind, some yajnas include body, some yajnas include words. So, but understand that all of them are based on prescriptions according to one's varna and ashrama. Evam gyatva vimokshase. So one who understands this very clearly and performs it in a detached fashion for the purpose of attaining liberation, he attains liberation, right? Okay, so this is where we ended our discussion the last time we discussed. Before we start today's discussion, if there are any discussion points or comments, anything anyone would like to share as and you can please go ahead. Okay, if there is none, we will continue our discussion. Okay, next verse. So Krishna says here, Shreyan dravyamaya yajna jnana yajna parantapa sarvam karma khilam partha jnane parisamapyate. O Parantapa, O afflict the enemies. Jnana Yajna, the sacrifice involving knowledge, is Shreyan, it is higher than. Dravyamayad Yajna is higher than the sacrifice of materials. What is the meaning of this? We are going to see now. Shreyan Dravyamayad Yajna Jnana Yajna Parantapa. Then he says, Jnane, with the attainment of knowledge, O son of Pritha, Sarvam karma kilam parisamapyate, all actions cease. Okay. With proper, so this can mean two things. Okay, this can mean two things. Okay. When one attains the qualification for jnana, then all karma stops. Okay. So one need not perform this karma when one attains the stage of jnana. This is one understanding. Sarvam karma kilam partha jnane parisamapyate. Another means when one attains the knowledge that I have to do it with detachment and while aiming for liberation, when that knowledge is there, sarvam akilam karma parisamapyate means there is no more reaction for that person. The person does not get any further reaction. It is karma free work. Okay. Shreyan Dravyamayad Yajnat Jnana Yajna Parantapa Sarvam Karma Kilam Partha Jnane Parisamapyate. With the attainment of knowledge, all actions cease. So one should not just okay, someone says change your name. Which name, Prabhu? Whom are you talking about? Okay. Okay. So okay. So he says that the Jnana Yajna is better than Dravyamaya Yajna. And when one gets Jnana, then all actions cease. That's what he says. So here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains here. He says, among the sacrifices, the Jnana Yajna described in verse 25 with the words Brahmagna Apare Yajnam Yajnena Ivopati is superior to the sacrifice of material objects such as oblations of ghee described in the verse 24. So which means there are various yajnas which have been prescribed. Some of them are at the level of Sakama Karma Yoga. Some of them are at the level of Nishkama Karma Yoga. And some of them were at the level of Jnana Yoga, very high level. So he says the yajnas which are performed at the level of Sakama Karma Yoga is called as Dravyamaya Yajna. And the sacrifices which are performed at the stage of Jnana Yoga level, it is called as Jnana Yajna. So even though both have the form of Yajna, but certainly Jnana Yajna is superior than just Dravyamaya Yajna, where only the Dravya is sacrificed. Why? With the attainment of knowledge, all actions which bear fruit are finished. So here, there is no knowledge of the transcendental goal of liberation. So because there is no knowledge of transcendental goal of liberation, even by performance of Yajna, Punya Karma is attained. Punya Karma. Okay. So Punya Karma is attained. But when one gets the proper knowledge of liberation, then when he reaches either the stage of Nishkama Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga, at this stage there is no Jnana. So no Jnana means attachment. And attachment means karma. But at the stage of Nishkama Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, there is Jnana. Jnana leads to detachment. Detachment leads to no karma. So that is the meaning of Sarvam Karma Kilam Partha Jnane Parisamapyate. With the manifestation of Jnana, Sarvam karma samapyate. All karma gets over because the person is not performing those activities with a desire to enjoy material karma. So after attaining knowledge, reactions to work no longer remain. So therefore, Shreyan Dravyamaya Yagyat Jnana Yagya Parantapa. Like that it is mentioned. Any quick discussion points, comments, questions before we move ahead? We are still discussing about Nishkama Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga only. We have not yet reached the stage where we are discussing Bhakti. We are still discussing Nishkama Karma Yoga only. Any discussion points before we move further? Okay. If there is none, we will continue our discussion. Okay. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. So he says, Tadvidhi pranipatena. Know this by surrender. Pariprashnena, questioning. Sevaya, service. So pranipat means surrender. Pariprashna means questioning. And sevaya means service. Know this by surrender, questioning, and service. Tattvadarshinaha, the seers of truth, te jnaninaha, the jnanis, jnanam upadekshanti, they will teach you this knowledge. So, so what is he talking about? So what knowledge is he talking about here? We are going to see that now. What is that knowledge that he is talking about here? So he says, so this verse speaks of the method of attaining that knowledge. How do you attain that knowledge? Sarvam karmakilam partha jnane parisamapyate. So if you don't have that knowledge, you will just perform dravyamaya yagya. And dravyamaya yagya will not save you from uh, from actually uh, freedom from karma. So dravyamaya yagya will not free you from karma. You need knowledge. Sarvam karma kilam partha jnane parisamapyate. The moment one gets that knowledge, then it leads to karma free work. Then the question is, how does one get that karma? That is the question, right? How does one achieve that jnana? Okay. How does one achieve that jnana? So he says, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattadarshinaha. Tad, that jnana, vidhi, you can understand by pranipata, pariprashna, and sevaya. By surrendering to a guru, questioning him in humility, and serving him. When you do this, upadekshanti te jnanam, they teach you all that knowledge. Why? Because they themselves are jnaninaha, they possess knowledge. And tattvadarshinaha, not only do they have theoretical knowledge, they also have realized knowledge. Tattvadarshis, they are tattvadarshis, so they will teach you what they know, and what they have realized. So how do you get that knowledge? Because here it says, with knowledge, if you perform your prescribed duties, then it will not lead to any accumulation of karma. So how to get that knowledge? By surrendering to a guru. So this verse speaks of the method for attaining that knowledge. It is attained by offering respects, bowing down to the guru, the instructor, and by asking questions such as, "Oh Master, why am I in this world of misery? How can this world of birth and death be stopped?" So this is pariprashna. So by pranipat, pariprashna, and sevaya, and it is attained by service to the guru. Okay. So when we engage in this pranipat, pariprashna, and seva, then it leads to accumulation of knowledge. So this is illustrated in the Shruti. Tad vijnanartam sagurum evabhigachet samitpanihi shrotriyam brahmanishtam. With fuel wood in his hand, samitpanihi. Samit means fuel wood. Panihi, because that is the meaning of seva. Because the guru will perform yajna, for that yajna he needs samit, fuel wood. For cooking also, the guru patni will perform cooking. For that you need fuel wood. Samit panihi. Okay. The student should approach the guru. Saha gurum eva abhigachet. He should approach the guru. Okay. So, and what is the qualification of the guru? Shrotriyam. Shrotriyam means he must be knowledgeable of the Vedas. Not only knowledgeable of the Vedas, because one may be knowledgeable of the Karmakandiya part of the Vedas, but he has to be Brahmanishtam. Brahmanishtam means he must be fixed in Brahman. So when we approach such a person with Samitpanihi, Samitpanihi means with a service attitude. Okay. And Tad Vijnanartam, in order to gain that knowledge, we have to approach that. Tad Vijnanartam Sagurum Eva Abhigachet Samitpanihi Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. So this verse indicates the same point. Tad Vijnanartam Sagurum, Tad Vidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadekshanti Tad Jnanam Jnaninas Tattvadarshinaha. Okay, like that. So, because he says Brahma Karma Samadhina. So, Brahma Karma Samadhina means one should have knowledge of the Brahman. One should understand the transient nature of this material world and the permanent nature of liberation. So, when one understands the transient nature of this material world and the permanent nature of liberation by surrendering to a guru, then one receives that knowledge. With that knowledge, one will be able to perform detached work. And when one performs detached work, then there is no reaction. So therefore, sarvam karma kilam partha jnane parisamapyate. With the attainment of knowledge, all reactionary work, all reactions stop from the work. So how to get that knowledge? By surrendering to a guru. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti tad jnanam te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Like that. Any discussion points, comments, questions? Okay, Shamlal Prabhu.
So, bro, this technique is applicable to devotees also, na? Tadvini Pranipatena.
Yes, yes, it is applicable to devotees also.
Because when we say our guru is Tattvadarshi only, because he understands everything with regards to bhakti. So the same formula applies to bhakti yogas also.
Absolutely. Yes. The same exact same principle applies to bhakti yogis also. Whereas those who are aspiring after Brahman, they will approach a guru who will teach them about Brahman. Whereas those who are aspiring after achieving a relationship with Krishna, they will approach a bhakti yogi guru who is an expert in the bhakti shastras, Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam, and have realized the Supreme Lord. Like that.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So let's continue. Then in the next verse, he says, so now that now you know the method of attaining knowledge. What is the benefit? What are the benefits of attaining Brahmagyan from a guru? What are the benefits of attaining the Brahmagyan from a guru? So he says, यज्ञात्वा न पुनर्मोहम् एवं यास्यसि पांडव येन भूतान्यशेषेण द्रक्ष्यस्यात्मन्यतो मयि. So what is the first benefit? He says, O son of Pandava, O son of Pandu, O Pandava, evam yad gyatva, knowing this refers to the jnana. Okay. Upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Because the tattvadarshi gurus will bestow that knowledge to you. Now that you have this knowledge, evam gyatva, now endowed with this knowledge, na punarmoham yasyasi, you will no longer be bewildered. You will no longer be bewildered by desires to enjoy in this material world. Okay. Yena, by this loss of bewilderment, and when we are not bewildered, drakshyasi, you will be able to see asheshani bhutani, how all the living entities, atmani, are individual atmas, ato mayi, and are situated in me. Okay. So when by surrendering to a guru and questioning him, not questioning him, asking questions from him and serving him, by that one will receive knowledge, and by that knowledge one will no longer be bewildered, and when one loses that bewilderment, one will be able to see how all the living entities are actually individual atmas and are situated in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One will be able to see that. So here it is mentioned, the result of knowledge is described in 3.5 verses. What are the benefits of attaining Brahmagyan or knowledge? Understanding that you are not the body but the soul, you will not have bewilderment, which is the quality of the mind. By destroying bewilderment through the attainment of the natural knowledge of the eternally perfect soul, you will see all living entities, such as men and beasts, as jivatmas. Right? We saw, what is that? Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shuni Chaiva Shvapakecha Pandita Samadarshina. So one is able to see that even though the bodies may be different, but it is the same, the Jivatma of the same quality is situated in all these bodies which are externally looking different. Okay. So by destroying bewilderment through the attainment of the natural knowledge of the eternally perfect soul, you will see all living entities such as men and beasts as Jivatma, but situated as separate creatures by material identification. And you will also see them situated in me, the supreme cause, since they are my products. Okay. So you will see all living entities such as men and beasts as Jivatma, but situated as separate creatures by material identification. Right? So all are Jivatmas, but someone says, I am a human, I am a male, I am a female, I am American, I am Indian. Okay. All are of the same qualities, but each one of them feels that they are different because of material identification. and you will also see them as situated in me, meaning that they will see Krishna as the source of all the living entities. So Krishna is the cause, all the living entities, their bodies, etc., are the products. So that is the meaning. Okay. Yad gyatva punarmoham evam yasyasi pandava yena bhutani asheshani drakshasi yena bhutani asheshena drakshasi atmani atomai. Like that. Any discussion points, comments, questions? Okay, let's continue. So next Krishna says, Api chedasi papebhya sarvebhya papakrittamah sarvam jnana plavenaiva vrijinam santarishyasi. So he says, Api ched, even if you are sarvebhya papebhya papakrittamah asi, even if you are the most sinful among sinners, sarvam vrijinam santarishyasi, you will cross over all the sins jnana plavena eva, by the boat of this knowledge. Okay, even if you have I mean, while approaching the guru, right, even though, so what it means is a sakama karma yogi, at some point he approaches a guru. Okay, so which means he is convinced. So when he approaches the guru, even though at that stage he may have lot of sinful tendencies, or anarthas, okay, but by the process of surrendering to the guru and receiving that knowledge from the guru, gradually anartha nivritti will happen, in that so he'll become a nishkama karma yogi, and gradually all the anarthas will go away by that practice. Apichedasi papebhyah sarvebhyah papakrittamah sarvam jnana plavenaiva vrijinam santarishyati. When you receive that knowledge of detached work and Brahman from the guru, then whatever sinful tendencies which are present in the form of anarthas in your heart will be destroyed by receiving that knowledge. By receiving that knowledge. So further, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, this verse is a glorification of knowledge. The verse states, if you are more sinful than all sinners. But then the question arises, but how could a person who is sinful be pure-hearted, and without purity of heart, how could he attain realization of knowledge? So how is it possible for such a person to realize that knowledge? Because knowledge will appear only in a pure heart, right? So that is what is being told here. Knowledge will appear in a pure heart. So knowledge will appear only in a pure heart. Therefore, how could, so now you say knowledge destroys sinful tendencies. So then the question is purity of heart a prerequisite for the manifestation of knowledge, or does manifestation of knowledge causes purity of heart? Right? On one side, we say knowledge will manifest when the heart becomes purified. On the other hand, you are telling that knowledge will destroy sinful tendencies. Apichedasi papebhyo sarvebhyah parittamah sarvam jnana plavena eva vrijinam santarishyati. That you will cross all the sins just by the boat of knowledge. So this seems little contradictory. Is knowledge is knowledge? Does purification happen by knowledge, or does knowledge manifest in a pure heart? What is the answer? What is the understanding? Okay, so here he says, actually, it is not possible for one who has attained knowledge to commit sinful activities. It is not possible, right? So Madhusudan Saraswati explains the words api and chet are used to show the assumption of the impossible. Okay. So the word api and chet are used to show the assumption of the impossible, even though the commission of sin would be impossible. The assumption is made to show the results of attaining knowledge. Knowledge is capable of destroying sins, even though um, uh, so even though the commission of sin would be impossible, but knowledge is capable of destroying sins. So this is not indicate. So this verse is not indicating that um, a, a knowledgeable person, a person who has realized this knowledge, will commit sin. But this verse is just indicated to show the greatness of manifestation of knowledge, that knowledge is so great that it can destroy all kinds of sins. But in general, a person who has this realized knowledge will certainly not commit any sinful activities. That is the fact. So that is why, that is the usage of the word apichet. Apichet means in the most improbable assumption that even if such person may be very, very sinful, knowledge is so potent that it can destroy the all the sinful reactions, like that. Okay. Okay. So apiched sapebhyah sarvebhyah papakrittamah sarvam jnana plavenaiva vrijinam santarishyasi. Any quick discussion points? Okay, we will continue our discussion. Okay, Shamlal Prabhu. Yes, Shamlal Prabhu.
Prabhuji, the statement still doesn't become clear that knowledge comes first or purification of heart comes first.
So here he says purification of heart comes first, then only knowledge comes. So the polity, so what it is mentioned as sarvebhyah papakrit tamaha, even if you are the most sinful among sinners, is a very, very improbable, impossible hypothetical presentation, because a person, so it is, so this statement is mentioned to glorify knowledge rather than indicating that a person who has this kind of a realized knowledge can be sinful. So this is not, so therefore the point that Krishna is trying to make here is to show is to glorify the knowledge rather than indicate that the possessor of knowledge can be so sinful, like that. Is that relevant?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay. Okay. So let's continue. Then Krishna says, Yataidahamsi samiddhognir bhasmasat kuruterjuna jnanagni sarvakarmani bhasmasat kurute tata. He says, just as a blazing fire burns to ashes all fuel wood, the fire of knowledge turns all actions to ashes. So turns all actions to ashes, which means endowed with that knowledge, when a person performs any action, it does not generate any reaction. It is reaction-free work. That's what he says. So here Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, Knowledge arising from purity of heart destroys all karmas except the prarabdha karmas. So for a karma yogi or a nishkama karma yogi or a jnana yogi or an ashtanga yogi, okay, for all of them, prarabdha karma is destroyed by giving up the body. Okay, prarabdha karma is destroyed by giving up the body. Even though aprarabdha karma may be destroyed by the practice of whatever, by the power of knowledge, but prarabdha karma is destroyed by giving up. But for devotees, this is not true. For those practicing pure devotional service, this is not true. For them, as soon as they take up to bhakti, immediately the prarabdha karma is destroyed also. Prarabdha and aprarabdha, both karmas are destroyed. Destroyed means Krishna takes over them. Krishna takes over them, and according to his own will, he may give it to the jiva, or he may choose not to give it to the jiva, or he may choose to change it also. That is possible. But for all others, except for those who take up to pure devotional service, for all of them, prarabdha karma is destroyed only at the stage of giving up this material body. So so knowledge arising from purity of heart destroys all karmas except the prarabdha karmas. This verse illustrates with an example. Samiddaha means blazing, like that. Any quick discussion points, comments? Okay, if there is none, we will continue our discussion. So I hope you know the difference between prarabdha karma and aprarabdha karma. So prarabdha karma means those reactions which we have been experiencing in this life and which we will experience in the next life also. Sorry, in this life in future. Okay, prarabdha karma means whatever we have been experiencing in this life, what we are experiencing currently, and what we will experience in future in this lifetime, all comes under prarabdha karma. And aprarabdha karma means what the karma that we will experience in the future life. That is aprarabdha karma. So by the process of this nishkama karma yoga and thus attaining this jnana, one destroys the aprarabdha karma, but one does not destroy the prarabdha karma. But by taking up to bhakti, one destroys the prarabdha karma, like that. That's what I meant. Okay, let us now move on to the next verse. So here Krishna says, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate tat swayam yoga samsiddha kalenatmani vindati. Iha, in this world, nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram vidyate. There is nothing as pure as knowledge in this world. So he says, kalena, after some time, tat swayam atmani vindate. It is attained of itself from within. Yoga samsiddha, through the practice of nishkama karma yoga, naturally that knowledge manifests within the heart gradually. Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate. There is nothing which is as pure as knowledge. After gradually over a period of time, by the practice of nishkama karma yoga, this knowledge manifests within the heart. Okay, like that. So when when the heart becomes purified by the practice of Nishkama Karma Yoga, gradually over a period of time, the knowledge manifests with the heart. So here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, in this world, among those who engage in austerities, yoga, and other processes, there is nothing to compare to knowledge. That knowledge is not easily attained by everyone, but is fully attained by practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga. Tat Swayam Yoga Samsiddhihi. Yoga Samsiddhi means by perfect practice of Nishkama Karma Yoga. Tat Swayam Yoga Samsiddhihi Kalena Atmani Vindati. In due course of time, it manifests within the heart. It is unobtainable, but it is attained in time, not immediately. That knowledge is attained spontaneously within the self, not by accepting external sannyas, but by proper practice of Nishkama Karma Yoga and by surrendering to a guru. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Under the guidance of a guru, when we properly practice Nishkama Karma Yoga, then gradually the knowledge appears within the heart when the heart becomes purified by the practice of Nishkama Karma Yoga over a period of time. Kalena Atmani Vindati. Any quick discussion points, comments, questions, anything anyone would like to share? Ask. Okay. So today, actually, we will end the session by 9 o'clock because anyway, there are not many devotees who have joined also. And also from 5:45 to 8 o'clock, almost just before starting this Bhagavad Gita, I had another class that just got over. 2 hours and 15 minutes I already spoken. And so, which means from 5:45 non-stop till 9 o'clock, I have been speaking. So, and also because not many devotees are there, I think we will end today's session at 9. Next Friday, we will continue this discussion forward. So thank you very much for your patient listening and your enthusiastic participation. We will continue this discussion again next Friday. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.